They just got my husband, you guys.
When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about whack. Whack, Luce Cannon, 600, and this internet stuff.
For months, Luce Cannon couldn't keep his mouth shut. He was running wild in interviews, spilling street secrets like it was story time, and everybody knew it was only a matter of time before the feds came knocking. Then boom, his wife dropped a video that had folks shook. That one clip had people saying, yeah, it's over for him. But what nobody expected was how deep this indictment actually goes. The crimes he's being tied to, straight up shocking. Turns out, Luce was tangled up in street stuff that only real ones and the feds even knew about.
Oh my God, you guys. The entire block is surrounded. They will not let me come home. We have an entire police force outside.
Now that it's all been dragged out into the spotlight, people are convinced he's facing serious time. Like forever, ever. Even Big U, the man folks claim was running the extortion game out in LA and allegedly connected to the murder of a rising rapper, is pointing fingers at Luce Cannon. He's blaming him for the chaos going down inside the Rollin' 60s Crips right now. Wild. This internet drama, it's wild, so here's the real scoop. Luce Cannon is now sitting behind bars, and it all blew up on March 19th when a video of his arrest went crazy viral.
My husband is home. I'm just praying that he's okay. They won't let me.
Turns out, the LA rapper and music producer got scooped up by the feds in broad daylight, and the whole thing was caught on camera. The clip dropped on the No Jumper X page and had everyone talking. It was filmed by a woman who says she's Luce Cannon's wife, Charisse Mills, and she sounded straight up panicked, yelling during the chaos. But get this.
They just got my husband, you guys.
It wasn't even the first time cops had been on their necks. Just a week before this arrest, Charisse hit social media with another bombshell. She showed their home getting raided by police, flashing lights, full search, and she claimed they wouldn't even let her back inside her own house. It's giving full-on takedown vibes, and fans are stunned.
I'm inside with my son, right? He's 6 months. So her and her mom went to Starbucks to go and get something. So when they come back, she see all the cones and everything around there, right? So she called me. She was like, they not letting me on the block. They saying there's a hostage situation.
According to Charisse Mills, Luce Cannon was actually inside the house the whole time during that wild raid. But here's where things get real shady. He wasn't even arrested that day. Kinda weird, right? Getting raided hard one week, then cuffed the next. Well, now it's coming out that he was actually swatted. Someone hit the cops with a fake tip, claiming he was holding someone hostage at his place.
You had Nipsey Hussle killed. Everybody know that. Everybody know Big U called that hit.
Luce says his wife and her mom had just stepped out for a quick Starbucks run, and when they came back, it was madness. Police were everywhere, swarming the whole apartment block like it was a war zone. And inside, Luce was just chilling with his 6-year-old son, completely unaware that the cops were closing in outside. The setup was wild, and now folks are wondering, who made that call and why?
Negotiator came and was trying to talk to me, so I got stuff in the house. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what a real hood dude is doing is hiding and stashing everything, right?
When the drama popped off, Luce Cannon's wife hit him up fast. She warned him that cops were on the way. He told her straight up to start recording and post it online, just in case things went left and the cops opened fire on him. Now here's the kicker. Luce is known in the streets as a Rollin' 60s Crip, and word is, his place was stacked with all kinds of illegal stuff. So the second he knew the police were coming, he got slick with it. A negotiator pulled up trying to talk him out, while Luce was inside scrambling to hide anything that could get him locked up. Eventually he came out and got cuffed, put right in the back of a squad car. Meanwhile, officers stormed his place, tearing it apart looking for any so-called hostages. The whole thing was tense and messy. Just 1 week after that chaotic raid, Luce Cannon was back in cuffs, this time for something way bigger than anyone expected.
They raided my houses and my property. They was asking about whack. Whack, Luce Cannon, 600, and this internet stuff. All of y'all fired. All y'all who be sending around the internet, all y'all who be promoting and listening to what these...
The nightmare of every street figure, a full-blown RICO charge. The feds dropped the hammer with what they're calling Operation Drawdown. On March 19th, Luce Cannon, Brick Baby, Big U, and 16 more alleged Rollin' 60s affiliates got snatched up in a massive federal sweep. The indictment? Absolutely crazy. If even half of it sticks, these guys are looking at serious time. Think Big Meech level sentences. We're talking charges that include murder, human trafficking, extortion, and straight up fraud. Prosecutors say this crew wasn't just causing trouble, they were straight up terrorizing the streets. And the wildest part? The feds are calling out the man at the center of it all, described as a so-called anti-gang activist and music entrepreneur. But according to acting U.S. Attorney Joseph McNally, he was nothing more than a violent street criminal. This case is exploding. Here's where it gets even crazier. Big U, the man allegedly running the whole show, was out here playing the oldest trick in the game, hiding in plain sight.
A snitch. Wack is a cop working. If you notice, every time something happens in the street, like with the Quando Rondo situation, how do you know so much about a motherfucker? Like, I don't even know that much about that. You talk about he done robbed a and did this, like, right. How do you know this unless you getting police reports?
He was moving like a so-called community leader, all while, according to the feds, he was knee-deep in street business. The FBI isn't holding back either. The assistant director in charge of the Los Angeles field office said, "The lead defendant and others in this case have for too long gotten away with violent acts, stealing money from taxpayers and well-intentioned donors, whether through intimidation or using their fake image as rehabilitated OGs."
You think the police told Quando
that the Rollin' 60s?
But it gets darker. Big U is now being linked to a murder that's straight up heartbreaking. He's caught up in the case of a rising rapper he was mentoring, whose body was found dumped in the desert back in January 2021. The victim, 21-year-old aspiring artist Ray Shawn Williams. He was just trying to chase a dream. Unique Music, an independent label, flew him out from California to Vegas for what was supposed to be his big break. 1 week in a studio, 1 song a day, with Big U backing it.
You can't say that no more.
Why? Oh yeah, because of... Wait, no. Like, who died?
You can't say that no more.
Oh, because of FBG Cash? Or who?
Nah, because Lil Pop.
Instead, it turned into a nightmare. This story takes a twisted turn because Big U wasn't just a mentor to Ray Shawn Williams. He had known the young artist since childhood, even coached him in football. But just 5 days before Ray Shawn's tragic death, he recorded something that changed everything, a diss track. And word on the street is that track was aimed directly at Big U. Unique Music had paid to fly Williams from California to Vegas in January 2021, putting him up in an Airbnb to work on his big break. But according to witnesses, he started skipping studio sessions. Not because he didn't want to be there, but because he had no ride. That's what the FBI says. Big U saw all this as major disrespect. He felt embarrassed, especially since he was the one who had vouched for Ray Shawn to Unique Music.
anytime you want to do movies in the hood, just check it in. We can make sure it's done. Movies, videos. But if you don't check it in, oh well. Check your out. We're gonna check you in, all right. We're gonna check in all of your equipment.
That reputation hit. He wasn't letting it slide. So Big U and his associate, Demetrius Meech Robinson, reportedly left LA and made that 4-hour trip to Vegas to handle it face to face. According to the feds, Big U believed Ray Shawn was wasting people's time, disrespecting his name, and ruining the Big U brand.
Going in, baby, I love you like cook food. You know, I'm a whole gangster, tough dude. I'll see you soon. I love you like cook food.
I love you too.
The diss track, that only made things worse. It set the whole thing off. The next day, around 7 p.m. on January 24th, Big U pulled up to the studio. Later that night, Williams finally arrived and recorded until midnight. By 12:30 a.m., Big U dipped out. Witnesses said the dark gray Lexus he and Meech had driven, gone without a trace. Suspicion was already in the air. This is where everything takes a dark, chilling turn. Around 1 a.m., Big U's phone suddenly stopped pinging GPS data, like it went completely off the grid. It didn't start tracking again until 2:15 a.m. But in between that window, at 1:13 a.m., surveillance footage from Ray Shawn Williams' Airbnb caught something suspicious.
I think Vaughn paid them guys. I'm sorry to tell the world. Them boys got snatched at the airport on a private hangar. Vaughn is dead, right?
Okay, well,
how the f is these paying for a job?
A dark gray or silver sedan pulled up. Williams stepped out of the passenger seat, went inside real quick, and came back out with his suitcase. That move raised red flags. He wasn't supposed to check out until the next day. His return flight was also scheduled for later, so why was he suddenly packing up in the middle of the night? Whatever it was, he knew something wasn't right. Then at 3 a.m., Big U showed back up at the studio, alone. Witnesses said he looked soaked, either in sweat or maybe even water.
I best believe we will win this case because it's all BS. It's all hearsay. There's no actual facts. It's based off of a podcast interview. At the end of the day, they have no evidence against my husband. They can say what they want to say. They got nobody testifying against my husband. And I know that for a fact because I got the paper.
When someone asked what happened, he played it cool and claimed he'd just come from the gym. But that story didn't sit right. By 9 a.m. the next morning, January 25th, Ray Shawn's body was found in a ditch near a Las Vegas landfill. He had been shot in the face with a revolver, one that doesn't leave behind shell casings, cold and calculated. And here's the shady part. After the murder, investigators say Big U made moves to clean everything up.
Asked her what house, and she went to go ask, and then they was like, "Oh, baby, they talking about our house." She know I don't have nobody kidnapped. She just left me 10-15 minutes ago, right? So I told her like talk to him. I said, but film it just in case I come out the house. And
he allegedly ordered all the studio recording gear to be removed and told people to destroy the surveillance footage. That footage could have shown him and Ray Shawn leaving the studio together that night. DNA from Big U was later matched against evidence found on Ray Shawn's body. This wasn't just a crime.
What's the update? What's going on?
When they picked him up, they took him to Henderson facility to get transported. He's going to be transported in the morning. I did just get off a call with him, and he's doing all right. We have good faith that this is all going to be debunked.
It was a cover-up. Even though the DNA results came back inconclusive, police still haven't cleared Big U from the murder case, and they're keeping him in the spotlight. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. Big U and his alleged Rollin' 60 Crips crew are facing a whole list of charges. And now that 19 members are locked up, even more dirt about their street operations is starting to spill.
She was like, "Oh, we just want you to come with your hands up." So I took off my shirt, walked with my baby in the arms, put my hands up, walked back or whatever. She took the baby, they handcuffed me, put me in a car, and they was like, "We're gonna just check and see if it's a hostage situation. If it's not or whatever like that, we'll let you go." And that's what happened.
What's wild is that Luce Cannon is acting like he's not even worried. He's claiming the whole thing is one big mix-up and that he's walking free soon. Adam 22 tapped in with Luce Cannon's wife, and she gave the world a little update. According to her, Luce is gonna beat his charges. She says the feds have nothing solid, just rumors and hearsay. No witnesses, no hard proof. But while Luce and his wife are holding on to hope, Big U seems to be playing a different game. Word is he's taking the RICO heat a whole lot more seriously, and what he's been saying behind the scenes, it's raising eyebrows. According to Big U, there are 3 people responsible for dragging this whole crew into the RICO mess: Luce Cannon, 600, and Whack 100.
We're here to announce federal criminal charges against Eugene Henley Jr., a career criminal known as Big U, who used his contacts and leadership role in the Crips criminal street gang, the entertainment industry, and a youth charity to further his own criminal enterprise.
He's convinced that all 3 have been recklessly airing out street business on the internet like it's nothing. Luce Cannon in particular has been hit with serious accusations of snitching, and fans aren't keeping quiet about it either. Adam 22 and his No Jumper podcast, they're catching major heat too Folks online have been calling out the platform for years now, claiming it's a hub for self-snitching. Some even go as far as saying Adam and his people have to be working with the feds.
I went to my favorite hip-hop platform, World Star Hip Hop, and I got some bad news. I found out that my big homie was talking to the cops.
Who's that? Who, me?
What do you think I should do, T?
Who's talking to them?
And believe it or not, the No Jumper podcast was actually mentioned in the official indictment. It's wild. Big U himself, while reportedly on his way to turn himself in after the charges dropped, didn't hold back. He straight up blamed Luce Cannon, 600, and Whack, 100. All three have been regulars on No Jumper, and now Big U says they brought the heat down on everyone. And let's be real, he might have a point. Luce Cannon once went on No Jumper and accused Big U of being tied to Nipsey Hussle's murder. That interview was later taken down, but not before it stirred up major controversy. The internet never forgets, and neither does the feds.
Why would the DA reject the charge?
It's not they rejected. They just is not enough evidence for them. They got to look at the case and say, can I beat this?
Luce Cannon dropped some wild claims that had people seriously questioning the official story behind Nipsey Hussle's murder. According to him, there was a straight-up conspiracy to take Nipsey out, and Big U was somehow connected. Luce says that just 30 minutes before Nipsey was shot and killed, Big U called him out of nowhere. Confused and alarmed, Luce said he immediately hit up his cousin Nipsey, who actually answered the call. But here's the chilling part. Only 30 minutes after that phone convo, Luce says he got another call.
What's happening? Ain't nobody signed up a permission slip for me. Huh? Oh yeah? I ain't know that.
This time, telling him Nipsey had just been killed. They just killed Nipsey, he said. It was unreal. It all went down on March 31st, 2019. Nipsey Hussle was gunned down outside his Marathon clothing store in LA. He was shot at least 10 times and was pronounced dead at 3:55 p.m. The official version pointed to Eric Holder Jr. as the shooter.
You're shooting this music video in East Atlanta, and you're not from there.
No, I'm from Charlotte.
Right. And a bunch of guys from the neighborhood show up and ask you for a permission slip. Did you feel that it could have gone wrong?
Yeah, God was on their side.
But with Luce Cannon's explosive story, a lot of folks started thinking there might be way more to this than what we've been told. It was reported that Nipsey had confronted Eric Holder Jr. about street rumors, that Holder had been out here cooperating with law enforcement. Basically, he called him a snitch.
We all thought that was a bad drug deal, weed deal. You know that. The world thought that shooting was a bad weed deal between some Armenians or Persians. That's what the world thought.
That moment changed everything. After Nipsey pressed him, Holder allegedly walked off, went to his car, loaded a gun, and came back to confront Nipsey, and ended his life right there. Holder was later found guilty of first-degree murder, plus 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of assault with a firearm, since 2 other men were hit by gunfire at the scene but survived. His final sentence, 60 years to life in prison. But after Luce Cannon's jaw-dropping claims, some people started thinking the official story barely scratched the surface.
And I'm on a phone, he FaceTime me. So he FaceTime me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, sick, so I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Luce made it sound like a whole conspiracy was in motion to silence Nipsey, and he's not the only one saying that. Charleston White also put Big U on blast. He's been saying from the jump that Big U had something to do with Nipsey's death. According to Charleston, jealousy was brewing inside the Rollin' 60 Crips, the very set Nipsey repped. Why? Because the younger generation looked up to Nipsey.
If you go in there and look at that report, number 4 is a local guy that was dropping Quando's locations.
He had real power, real influence, and wasn't moving like a gang member anymore. He was bigger than the streets. That kind of respect? Not everyone wanted to see it grow. So some people, according to Charleston, decided Nipsey had to go. But Luce Cannon wasn't finished airing it all out, not even close. He kept spilling on No Jumper, and what he dropped next ended up right there in the RICO indictment.
and do something, and the same we do it to show up to the house like 10 minutes later when we trying to, you know, counting everything, right? And we be like, how the they get that? Oh, well, we're gonna just give them like $40,000 back and stuff like that. But cuz it's actually putting us in paperwork.
He claimed Big U once set up a robbery of a weed dispensary, and Luce Cannon himself was the one who carried it out. But here's the twisted part. According to Luce, after the hit, Big U turned around and invited the victim of that robbery over, handed back some of the stolen cash, and played it off like he had nothing to do with it. Turns out this wasn't some random move. It was part of a slick operation.
I think that he's a federal informant.
I think he's definitely working.
The indictment claims Big U was running a street-level protection racket. Basically, businesses were being told to pay him for safety, and if they did, their shops wouldn't get touched by him or the Rollin' 60s. Big U was out here moving like a full-blown mafia boss, wild, but Luce Cannon wasn't the only one running his mouth. Whack 100 was also getting exposed left and right. Brick Baby, who's also wrapped up in the RICO, even said Whack was acting like a Fed.
It was until February of 2023 that Brick Baby goes on the internet with Flacco and says, out of nowhere, the world is oblivious to this. I guess they can't say OTF didn't slide for King Von anymore.
Everybody's pointing fingers and nobody's safe now. Truth is, Whack 100 didn't even have the full story when it came to Quando Rondo's situation. He thought that shootout was over a bad drug deal, not retaliation for King Von's death. That slip-up had people side-eyeing him hard. The rumors got so wild that even World Star Hip Hop dropped a now-deleted video claiming Whack was working with the feds. That's how deep the suspicions ran.
Really jealous of Nipsey Hussle, homie. All the big homies in the set was jealous of Nip, because all the young love Nip. So Nip had got bigger than the set, cuz. Nip had connected Nip. Nip had got bigger than the set, cuz. Nip ain't big. Ain't nobody bigger than the set, cuz.
People were out here saying, who's really talking to the cops? Whack couldn't escape the heat. Luce Cannon, Brick Baby, and Big U are definitely wishing they never touched the internet, because now their own words and videos are being used against them. But they're not alone in that mistake. The Rollin' 60 Crips aren't the only gang that basically snitched on themselves online. The O-Block crew found themselves in the exact same position, except this time it ended with 5 of their members facing life in prison. On October 13th, 2020, the feds raided O-Block and arrested 5 men in connection with the murder of FBG Duck. The names: C Murder, Kenny Mack, Loss, C Thing, and Muwop. These 5 were slapped with charges including murder, racketeering, unlawful firearm use, and assault with dangerous weapons. And the scariest part? The charges come with a mandatory life sentence if they're convicted. FBG Duck was gunned down in broad daylight on Michigan Avenue and East Oak Street, right in the heart of Chicago's upscale Gold Coast. The hit was brutal and bold. Surveillance footage captured the terrifying moment.
The feds get on Brick. We don't know this. We're under the presumption that it's an AK-47 case. But what really happened was they came there to get his cell phone.
A black car rolled up in front of a store and heavily armed men jumped out, spraying bullets as Duck tried to run for cover. But there was no escaping it. After lighting up their target, the shooters jumped back in the black vehicle, while a gray Chrysler, also tied to the ambush, sped off right behind them. That footage became key evidence, and now those 5 are looking at life with no parole. Social media and surveillance sealed the deal. The shooters sped off, leaving FBG Duck dying in the street, but they didn't get far. CCTV caught everything.
Signing no permission slip nowhere. I don't answer questions. I don't sign permission slip. I don't do that, big homie. Hey, I ain't gonna never check in. Hey, I'm not checking in, no.
Cops later traced the gray Chrysler straight back to O-Block. No arrests were made that same day, but the breakthrough came when gang members themselves started talking online. On camera, they openly admitted the reason behind the hit. Duck had disrespected their fallen homie, T. Roy, in his diss track Dead, just a month before he was killed.
After I talked to Nipsey and I was like, yeah, I love you cuz or whatever like that, I'll see you later or whatever. So I hung up the phone. I thought, Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they...
At first, everyone, including the feds, thought King Von had placed the bounty on Duck for dissing his best friend. But then FBG Buddha sat down with Vlad TV and dropped a bombshell. He connected Lil Durk to the murder of FBG Duck. According to Buddha, Lil Durk was about to fly some of the same guys responsible for Duck's death on a private jet, just days before the arrests were made. That detail shook the internet and made people question how deep the connections really go. Now, those 5 O-Block members have all been found guilty, and they'll be spending the rest of their lives behind bars. Will Luce Cannon face the same fate? Only time will tell.
Was he claiming?
Roll 60 script.
Where Brick Baby from?
Roll 60 script.
Who you think he checked in with?
Roll 60s.
With who?
Okay, I see where you're going.
If you rocked with this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to see this. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss another breakdown. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.